Welcome, everybody. Welcome. What up, Marcel? Web reception. Let's see. CHIMAOGE here. Wait till the minute mark and then test. If I don't have reception, that'll be a tragedy. But I spent a lot on that description. Anyway, let's not say it like that. Let's not be too negative. If you can already see me, welcome. Just waiting. My name is CHIMAOGE, government name CHIMAOGE Chijioke Ibe, alternate white structure name CHIMAOGE Chijioke Ibe Ngoko, metaphysically correct name CHIMAOGE Nke ROM, my forename MAOGE, MAOGE. Check out my media company OZ Bangoko, the message of the gang of drinking well. Okay, we got reception. Let's kick it up a notch. Come from no go high. All the saints is a lesson. Elo Buna, Elo Sabre, wah. Hellfire deal. Abu Mama Dio, Kalaka. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Now, today's subject is gluttony. But I have a take on it that is different than most people. To begin as a reference point, you can check out the previous video I did on this, where I called it what I tend to call it. Well, I guess another name I tend to call it, Karotazu. I discovered that through prayer. The video is about Donald Trump. Check it out. He's been in the news as if other people who have been near a certain person I'll refer to as Mr. E. My take on that is obviously it's foul. We just need to go in and catch more of the criminals involved. Anyway, it's just about action at this point, you know. I'll just leave it at that. It's about action at this point. Enough crime has been shown. I'm not saying more evidence shouldn't be released, of course, but like, just go and get the people. Anyway, get them, yeah, hold them, get them. Anyway, so the point is, I'm just going to begin. Gluttony is different than what it's commonly understood to be. Gluttony is currently commonly understood to be, thank you, I've registered a viewer. Gluttony is currently commonly understood to be a situation where someone is eating too much. That is not a complete understanding, according to my ancestors. 8 viewers, oh bussy, overcoming the devil most exactly, that's appropriate. High back, kalakana, high back, kalakana, another translation. Anyway, gluttony is, according to my ancestors, and I believe this, gluttony is when the belly is full, but there's no nourishment. In other words, it is a case when someone or a group of people, whatever, has consumed a lot of things and feel satisfied. However, their satisfaction is disproportionate to the amount of value within them. And because of that, they can actually wither away, okay? One example of this is if someone only drank water and filled up their belly, right? They might be full, they might be unable to eat more, they might be unable to consume more, but they have not been properly nourished. That's one example. Another example, this one is more psychological and you can also say spiritual, is when someone has listened to someone's entire lecture. They don't want to listen to anything else, but the lecture was a bunch of nonsense. Okay. Those are 2 forms of gluttony. Another way of saying that, according to me, is Karotazu. Deeper meaning of that. Karotazu is another name for a Ekwensu. Specifically, it's the final form of that, the 5th form. That's the end goal of the god of war. Ekwensu begins as the god of war for who? His final form, and let me say it like this. The final form is the third movement thing. The expansion of the final form is the end goal, the ideal. His final form, which is the point where he has the most energy, is when he's creepy, when he's just a Ekwensu. And then the expansion of that is Adoka. Adoka is gluttony, that is a thing, right? So that thing is very terrible. So, why am I talking about this? 1, Well, one, primarily to further explain that video I did before. Check it out. That was a very good video. I think that, I honestly, I took a chance on it just because that was a very niche idea. It was something that never been expressed before. In the video, I related it to leadership. I'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, check it out, especially because I gave terms in my language that are not known to most English speakers. And the term Karotazu specifically I got through prayer. It is what it is. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on the exact breakdown of why that's what it means and what it is now, because that's new. But you can look it up. Karotazu. But anyway, just know that when I'm saying that, I'm referring to gluttony. But this is how I define gluttony once again. A case when the belly is full, but the person is not properly nourished. In other words, there's been intense deception. So, why am I talking about this? One, to explain that. Two, I want us to think about conditions in this society that occur a lot where people are unable to get what they need and do not think they need anything else, even though they clearly do not have their needs met. This is confounding, right? For example, there are a lot of malnourished people in the West who are overweight. That's one example. That's an example of Karotazu. Their belly literally cannot consume more things, but they're not properly nourished because they filled their belly with the wrong thing. And then another example of that is people who spend a lot of time listening to the wrong people. One example of this, ironically, is Dr. Johnson. Okay, a lot of people, and I just want to make it clear, obviously I've researched him a lot. In my case, I would not say I fell ill to gluttony just because I listened to other people, But, and another way of saying that is I was never a fanboy, okay? But there are a lot of people who fanboy for Dr. Umar Johnson, right? And that's just one example. And really, I'll give the second one. The second one would just be Trump. Let me just keep that to the side. There are a lot of people who fanboy for, and again, Trump is worse than Dr. Umar. I'm just giving examples on the fly here. There are a lot of people who fanboy for Dr. Umar Johnson, spend all their time listening to him, and because of that, they have no bandwidth to hear anything else. So they've consumed a bunch of information, but it's not useful enough to be proportionate. How do I know that? Because of how prominent he is relative to how bad what he says is, okay? Especially as of late, it's not proportionate. Then Trump, that one's even bigger. All those rallies, which quite frankly are just a form of witchcraft, okay? He just spreads his negative energy all over the world, right? As a form of witchcraft. He just gathers a bunch of people in that cauldron, hypnotizes them. It's nasty. But anyway, so many people, either they go to that thing, or maybe they're watching it, or they're just a network that's being consumed. All they listen to is that people in the network, they don't know anything else. And really, this is how cults get formed. Because at some point, the person has consumed so much information that even if it's bad, they don't have the bandwidth to consume anything else. So there's that. So I'll leave that at that. Then, the third thing I want to talk about is how it manifests as a leader. Because gluttony manifests as the leader that deceives. In that video I'm talking about, which is called Donald Trump is the final form of the Karotazu, right? I gave the top 10 signs of a Karotazu leader. Again, this came from above, but it all makes sense. I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but I do want to note one of the criteria, it might have been number 6, is that the leader's end goal is to harm a younger person. I'll say it like that. And then again, think of Donald Trump's connection to Mr. E, and let me not break this. Think of many of our other leaders' connection to Mr. E. Again, why would you amass all that capital and or political power just to go off somewhere and do that nonsense, you see? So some people, that is their end goal. It's just to harm a younger person. And again, that action would never satisfy them. So they're inherently dissatisfied, even though obviously their being must be filled with nonsense. And they spread that nonsense and dissatisfy the people, okay? I'll just leave it at that. But Anyway, Karotazu, gluttony manifests as the leader that deceives. And these leaders come out of nowhere. So right now in the world, we have a crisis of leadership. And a lot of these leaders look as if they're going to do something. They take up time and space. And then when they fall, no one has the energy to do what's necessary to actually organize society. So I'm going to leave things at that. Anyway, I wanted to explain that more in more depth. And I do want to note my definition of gluttony. It comes initially really from prayer, but when I thought about it, I said, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. I'm going to do more on this. I'm going to make art about this to visualize it in a way that's appropriate. Yeah, but I just want to note that I don't blame anyone for having a different definition of gluttony than me. We're in a crisis of language. Language is being reformed. Language is being properly understood. And also there are different languages. Okay, there might be some languages where that is what gluttony means. Maybe it's just not the one I'm speaking. Again, English is not a proper language, so don't feel bad. Anyway, but I just want to put that out as food for thought. The hand of God, same thing. Anyway, I'll be getting off soon. Let me leave you with the hand of God's wife, the love of the hand of God's life, mercy, ebere. Let me leave you with something. I'll say this, eat oranges. And especially if you get them in powdered form, powdered orange, that's very good. Anyway, thank you very much. Check me out, patronize my business, buy my art, join my Patreons, subscribe to the Patreon, buy my merchandise, and donate. Thank you very much. See you next time.